Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. And here we have a great article from thedesk.net by Matthew Keys. I will leave it in the description so you guys could check it out. So T-Mobile shuffles executive roles ahead of retirements. So again, I want to clarify this some more. That's why I wanted to do this follow-up video. So this is not a groundbreaking move in that sense. So don't take it that way, right? But the fact that they moved John Saw back onto the networking side is a big deal, in my opinion. I think that's a huge deal. And like I said in the original video, it puts me more at ease. Again, I'm not knocking Ulf, but again, I don't know if he has that type of wireless experience. I know he's worked for Ericsson. I know he's been with T-Mobile for a few years now, but I don't know if he's operated and maintained a large network of of his own in the past. I just don't know. So with John Saw being back on the networking side, which now this leads me to believe that he was always going to end up back on the network side. They probably told him at the very early beginnings of the merger that, hey, look, we want you on the networking side, but we have these pieces in place right now that we just can't move. So we will put you in another section in the meantime. And then once these guys retire, then we will move you back to the networking side. I truly believe that, because Mike Sievert knew John Saw from the Clearwire days. Mike Sievert was with Clearwire, and he was with Sprint for a long time. They call him Mr. 2.5, Mr. Massive MIMO, and they call him Dr. John Saw. So it's a big deal that he's back on the networking side. So this also leads me to believe that once Ulf retires sometime in the future, that John Saw will be in charge of the overall network and the planning of it. And I think right now he's going to have a huge impact on the network and where it's headed in the future. That's my honest opinion. Right? Neville had his time at T-Mobile. And again, I'm not knocking Neville either. He did what he needed to do to get the network where it is today. He had great sense of humor. He had a very competitive spirit. And in some cases, he did oversell the network. In some places, it wasn't as great as what he talked it up on some of these stages that he was on. And that's just a fact. But, now his time is over. He's moving to a strategic advisor role. We all know what that means. We've seen that with Verizon. He's going to be alongside Mike Sievert, and then we won't see or hear from him again, right? He's set to retire in August, and then, he's still going to be a strategic advisor. He'll be a phone call away anyway, but we won't see him in the media anymore. We won't see him in these conferences. It'll either be Ulf or John Saw moving forward. So for me, the big piece here is, like I said, I'm not knocking any of the other guys, but John Saw being moved to the networking side as the CTO, Chief Technology Officer, puts me more at ease, right? I know his experience. I know he was with Clearwire. I saw what he did at Sprint with the little that he had to work with. It wasn't at scale, of course. Sprint's network was lagging behind to the masses, but in some of the areas where they were able to invest, the network was pretty good. I'll give him that, right? He was fine-tuning that TDD. He knew the exact ratio to put the downlink and the uplink. Of course, now that's changed, right? Uplink usage is much higher nowadays. But, now he has a lot more FDD to work with. He didn't have a lot of FDD spectrum at Sprint. Now with T-Mobile, there's a lot more FDD to aggregate. So, again, I just want to point out, right, with Sprint, $4 to $5 billion was the peak capex during all the cuts and stuff that they were making. They were spending like $1 to $2 to $3 billion, so he didn't have a lot to work with. $9 to $10 billion. I mean, John Saw's eyes are going to be wide open, right? And keep in mind, you got to look at the numbers, man. They're all there, right? Verizon spends, $20 billion now because of C-band, but that's gonna tamper down back to 17, 18. AT&T is likely going to remain at the 19, 20 billion. You got to remember the large business units that they fund. All of that $20 billion or close to it does not all go to wireless. Keep that in mind. So that 9 to 10 billion that T-Mobile has implemented in their run rate is probably right around what the others are spending on just pure wireless. Yes, there's fiber that goes into that, but for the most part, T-Mobile pushes that off onto the OpEx, right? 9 to 10 billion is a good amount. If they start upping it to 11 to 12 to 13 billion, that should let us know that they're getting more aggressive. They're gaining more share, so they're having to invest more. That's kind of how it's going to work by default. As T-Mobile starts growing share in these underpenetrated segments, the rural segment, business enterprise, military, government, etc., they are going to start inching up that capex. It's going to naturally happen because now they're starting to take some serious share from the competition. They did it in the top 50. They did it in the top 100 markets. They're going to do it again. You just got to watch them work. They're going to make this happen. I think ultimately, until Verizon and AT&T drastically make a change, T-Mobile is going to overtake them. I truly believe that because they're sitting at their desks, their CEOs, their CFOs, their CTOs. They're sitting at the desk. They're being blindsided by most of these moves T-Mobile's making. They're not really making any of their own that'll change their trajectory. So now they're just going to take losses, right? Verizon's anticipated to lose 300,000 in Q1. AT&T anticipated to grow a lot less versus what they did a year ago. T-Mobile anticipated to be the growth leader. So again, it's just falling in place. That's all it's doing for T-Mobile. T-Mobile knew this would happen because they told us so at the analyst day. And now, some analysts are coming out, well, these numbers aren't really adding up, this, that, and the third. If you look at T-Mobile's guidance by history, they always guide conservative. They always beat their own guidance. So just keep all of that in mind as you look at T-Mobile for the future. So make sure you guys stay tuned to the channel for more. Like, share, subscribe, follow my social media outlets. This is Tyrone with Tech Life. See y'all in the next one. Peace.